All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is using layers to organize our geometry. So for our job type, we know we're going to use a pocket, a profile, and an engrave type feature. And we've already set that up as a job template, so it makes it really easy when we're creating our job. We just do create new job from template, and then we're going to grab the one that we have set up, and then we'll choose OK. And what that will do is load in our pocket cycle, our profile cycle, our engraving cycle, and our cutout. So basically all the steps for the machining is done. It's really just about the CAD. Now, from the CAD side, we can use layers to organize things, but it's not a necessary step, but it is something that isn't the worst thing to know how to do or to use, right? So to create a layer and add geometry to that layer, you start in the layer window, you right click, you choose add new layer. We're going to call this one pocket, right? Okay, so now what we want to do is in the CAD space, we want to take the geometry that's the pocket, select it, and then modify its attributes to put it on that layer. So we go to select mode, right? And I'm going to shift and left click to get our chain here. This is text, right? So that's going to be the geometry that we want to put on the pocket layer. Then we right click, modify attributes, layer, pocket, right? Okay, so now we can go into the layer window, right click, add new layer. This one is going to be profile. Okay. I can turn the CAD layer off, right? I can turn the pocket layer off, but you can't turn the visibility of the active layer. So I'm just going to put the checkbox on the CAD and I'm going to hide the pocket, right? So now what I want to grab is everything I'm going to profile. So technically, as long as they're not intersecting, all of this we can profile, but to follow along with the theme here of the 3 different features, we're going to use these vertical lines as profiles, right? So we want to select them. So we can, if we're in selection mode, we can select. If we're not in selection mode, we can put ourselves in selection mode. And then in this case, I'm just going to window pick. Now you got to be careful when window picking that you don't grab something that you don't want, or you forget to grab something that you do. Okay, so, but I'm just going to grab all the vertical lines here. I highlight them, I right click, modify attributes, layer, put them over on that profile layer. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is add a new layer. This one is engrave, right? I can turn that layer off. Okay, so now I'm going to grab all this stuff. Now, in this case, it's easier to kind of select everything and then reselect the stuff that I want to deselect, right? So it's select deselect mode. So that way I can grab all that. I'm going to right click, modify attributes, layer, engrave. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to do is a cutout. And this is just a CAD preparation step, right? And it just is organizing your geometry. Okay. So now we have everything set up. So the next thing we want to do is we want to draw our stock, right? And it's probably the first thing that we would do normally. So I'm just going to turn all those off. I'm going to go create rectangle. I'm going to reference the lower corner here, and then I'm going to say how big a piece of stock that I'm working with, right? So let's say it's a 36 by 20, or maybe it's a 48 by 48. Okay, reference in this corner, we say okay. So what this does is it shows us our sheet of material. Now, anytime you load up a new sheet of material, it's a good idea to draw that stock and then place the parts within the stock of what you're going to cut. And then that way, as you continue to cut away from the stock, you have a digital copy of where everything is, okay? So for us, we're gonna turn the features that we have set up on, and we wanna take all this geometry and move it inside of the stock where we would wanna cut it, okay? And the corner of the stock is gonna represent our 0. So from here, we're gonna just go to Utilities Translate. This time I'll select these two first and then window pick. And what that does is it's just a way to select everything. I could have selected by layers too, like, you know, let me cancel that. So I could do, let's go to translate, and then I can say home, pick and match by layer. So then you could go like this and like that and like that. Just by clicking on one of them, it will select everything that's associated with that layer. So you could also do it by color, etc. So from here, we're going to just drag this inside of our stock where we want to cut it, and then we'll say okay. All right, so that's our job setup at this point. Now, what are we going to do from here? We got to select what we want to cut. Our 0 is in the same 0 here, but it may not be the same as the last time we ran this job, right? So we're going to just run the stock wizard so we can see what it looks like. This one is set up to a wireframe boundary, so we just shift left click on the outside and then calculate stock. This is where we say how thick our material is, and then we'll choose OK. All right, so now we got our stock set up, we have our 0 set up, and we have our features. So it's just a matter of selecting what we want to work with. So we're going to go to Pocket, right click, reselect. Now from here, because we have everything on layers, we can just turn everything else off except for the pocket geometry. Window pick what we want to pocket, say OK. All right, then from there, we're going to right click on the pocket operation and then hit compute. All right, so that does the pocketing. We'll go to the next one, which is the profile. So we're going to just, we're going to go to profile, turn that one on, and turn the pocket off. This has our profile geometry. We're going to right click on the geometry under profile 1, reselect, window pick all this. All right, now as far as the chain direction, like what direction they're cutting, right now they're all going, let's see, they all appear to be going down. They're going towards the center, so the top is going down. We may decide that we want them to cut in the same direction or different directions. I think I'm actually okay with the way that this is cutting. It's starting from the outside and then working it. So we'll say okay on that. I bring that up if we wanted to change it. You could change it in that window, or you can go to default chain start point, right click, modify, and then just by clicking on either side of the arrow, you can change what direction it's going to cut in. Okay. All right. So that's all set up. We're going to right click on that operation and then compute, and we'll go through and cut all those. Now, the next thing we have is our engraving. So we'll just turn that layer on. Okay, we got this here. We're going to just go to reselect. We're going to window pick all this. We're going to choose OK and compute. All right, so now that's going ahead and cut that too. So we have this one and this one. We have pretty much everything being cut except for the cutout. That's the last one here. So again, we can turn all these off. All right, this one here, we just want to select this geometry, so that's a chain select, and then compute, and that one will go ahead and cut it all out. Now, if you want to check where the tool starts and what direction it cuts, you just go over one of the operations, you right click, you choose backplot. This will display the tool and the holder, so you can change what is going to be displayed, and then you can click through and see where it's going to go. Okay, so that's showing what direction that one's going in. So that's that one. This is the engraving, same thing. You can right click on the operation and then just go to backplot, and then this will display the tool and where it's going. Okay. All right, if we want to simulate it, we can come up to here where it says start simulation, or you can right click on the job and go to simulation, or you can click the little simulation button up here. All right, so this will show the stock. This is going to give you the orientation, and then also what it's going to look like when it's cut out. Okay, so that's what we're getting. If we're happy with this, okay, what's our next step? Our next step is to post the program. Okay, so we want to post everything in our job here. Okay, our 0 again is on the corner of the stock, right? For this machine, you know, X is the short axis going this way, Y is the long axis. This is the front of the machine. The computer and controller is right here. We have a vacuum table, so this is on top of the vacuum table, and we zero just on the corner of the stock, and you can see the part is offset in from the corner. Okay, so we need to post our code. So we're gonna go up to the cam tree here. We're gonna just hit post, and that writes all the code. Okay, all this code is written specific for the machine we're using. So that's set up in the job. This is an industrial machine with the industrial post. Okay, once we get the code set up over here, we're going to right click and choose save as, and then we'll just save it to our folder. Okay, so now that we've saved out our code, we're probably going to bring it over to the machine via thumb drive and then put it in a folder on the desktop, and then we're going to get into Mach 3 and turn Mach 3 on, right? So then we're going to go to file and load, and we'll load up our file. Okay, so in here, what we're going to do is we're going to hit tab, and we'll jog the machine over to the corner of the stock. We're going to zero on the top of the material, right? And then we hit 0, 0, 0. So we zeroed out the job, and then we jog the tool up. Okay, now before we run the program, we're going to go to this toolpath section over here. We're going to do regen toolpath. And what this will do is give us a preview of what's going to happen. But the other thing it's going to do is give us the limits of the program, so we know how far it's moving left to right and down. The one that we pay attention a lot to is the Z-axis range. Usually if you're going to have a problem on the machine, it's because the tool is going down too deep. We're zeroing on top corner here, so we just want to pay attention to this number. If this number is bigger than our stock or something that we don't expect, we know that we made a mistake, and we'll go back and check our program. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do a simulated program run. What this will do is calculate how long it's going to take to run. This gives us an estimate on how long the job is going to run. Once we've done those two things, we can go back to our program, do our sanity check on our 0, make sure there's clearance all around the machine, and then we're going to hit cycle start and go ahead and let it run. On this machine, we have to turn the spindle on separately, so we go to the VFD and turn the spindle on and set the speed, and then from there we're going to run it, and that's what we're looking at.